not too much. All right, so we were talking about objects before, right? And objects can get pretty complicated. They're not all just simple cylinders and spheres and things like that. Last time we were drawing this kind of hand sanitizer stuff. We're going to start kind of going outside of our comfort zone a little bit. We're going to talk about contour lines, and we're going to eventually start talking about transparencies as well. Okay? That's going to be more of a shading thing, but they do tie together, and I'll explain how and why. So let's do that. I'm going to change my angle here a little bit so you can kind of see. All right. So I've got my glass bottle here, and as you can tell, it's basically just a cylinder right here. It's kind of a nice rounded top on it, so maybe a sphere of some sort. Another cylinder here, a little cylinder there, and then this guy, on his own accord, he's kind of like maybe like a coin shape, which really is kind of a flat cylinder, just at an angle, and another maybe cone shape right there. Okay, you with me so far?
Are we drawing that one, or are we drawing one on the table?
Just follow along for right now. For right now, it's going to go quick. I have a project set up for you guys in a second. But this seems like a pretty complicated image, right? I mean, figuring just this cap out alone can be kind of difficult. But if I block it in and then use contour lines as well, it actually can be pretty beneficial. So I'll show you what I mean. All right, so first things first, I'm going to go through, kind of lightly sketch. Actually, let me turn down the contrast. All right, I'm going to lightly sketch here in my kind of cylinder base, my blocking in. This is all the stuff we already talked about. Okay. I can use, we talked before about kind of that plumb line going down the middle, making sure that things are nice and symmetrical. So I draw a line down the middle, I know where my core is, basically. There's a cylinder here. I'm going to draw that as well. Okay. There's a cylinder right there for the lip of the bottle. I don't know if you can quite see that there. Okay. And then I have to worry about this cap, which again is nothing more than a cylinder. Oops, nothing more than a cylinder like that, but it's at a slight angle. Okay. So again, we know how to do all this stuff. This is just simple blocking in techniques. All right. Now, I could use comparative measurement, kind of line things up. We were talking about this last time. Kind of line things up and make sure that the height matches the width and everything. For the sake of argument, right now we're just going to assume that this is a-okay. I'm not going to go through every step of the way, but all right. So you see my bottle, my rendering of this bottle, right? Using contour lines. Now I'm going to switch colors just so that you can see it more vividly, but using contour lines, you wouldn't draw them very hard. You draw them just the same as you would if you were just doing a light sketch. I'm going to go through and show you how I can make this a little more three-dimensional. Really, all I'm doing is kind of doing like, picture if I was just making curlicues, that thing you do in the corner of your math textbook, right? I'm just going to use these curlicues to show three-dimensional space. I'll show you what I mean. So if I've got this kind of circle here on the bottom, right, and it goes up to the top of a cylinder right there, I want to be able to show that three-dimensional space. Now, and as you guys are practicing, you can literally make ovals going from the edge to the edge, right? Literally make those ovals. As time goes on, you won't need the oval as much because you'll be able to kind of imagine it in your head. You can just kind of show that curvature of the bottle because you're following the contour of what's going on. As that bottle gets a little bit smaller, that contour gets a little bit smaller, right? Kind of goes up. Show you like this here. Okay. So the contour goes up as it's going up here. It's going to get a little bit smaller. It's going to get a little bit bigger again. Again, it really is like a wireframe. Make sense? Good. Then you're going to do the same, only this time you're going to go vertically with it. Where it's straight, obviously you just do straight lines, but say for example there's an arch, a slight curve to the top of this bottle, right? So I want to curve my line. So as this comes down, like the edge of the actual drawing that I've already done, I'm just going to use that kind of follow it along. It's going to go down, like so. Curve down, like so. As time goes on, you won't need to kind of sketch it out as much. But it'll go much, much quicker with it. But you start to get kind of like a birdcage look about it. That's what we want. It gives it a three-dimensional quality. So we're pretty good so far. This concept makes sense as far as doing this is what we call a cross contour draw. Okay? Now, here's what I wanted to show you. So doing this kind of stuff, I'm not going to lie, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to actually go through and do each one of these the whole step of the way, because that's a lot of extra drawing that you're just going to end up erasing anyway. But if you ever get really stumped, you're not quite sure how to bend the light on shadow or shading or something like that, this is a really good step of kind of showing yourself what to do. Now, let's say, for example, in my still life, let's pretend that it's not made of glass for a second. Let's say it's a solid object. Let's say that the light is coming from this direction, okay? Because you always have to take into account your lighting. So the light's coming from this direction. I know this will be kind of the highlight right here. And I know it's going to kind of fade out as it goes around the bottle from there, right? Right? So you can kind of imagine wah as it kind of fades away, right? So let's imagine that you've gone through, you've done this whole SketchUp. You have your basic contour drawing, your basic blocking in. It's feeling good, but doesn't feel realistic yet. You can use this contour drawing to your benefit, because as you start to shade, I know that this is going to be my darkest over here. I can bend my line with the contour. That'll always help add kind of that three-dimensional quality to it. And imagine it just like layers. Layers on a cake, a delicious, delicious cake. So as I kind of go along the process here, I can imagine it's going to get lighter each step of the way. So here's one step. Right? Here's another. It's getting lighter each time. Basically, cross-hatching is a good way to think about it. We know about that already. Okay. It's a little bit lighter. Going up the pattern here, a little bit lighter. And then eventually we get to that highlight. Okay. You can go through and kind of blend over these little, the lines that we kind of form, the strata. Go through and kind of blend that over, kind of fade between the two. I can use my contour lines vertically, my contour lines horizontally to blend everything together. Curving that line. If you're doing straight lines like this, it's no good. Curve that line. Follow the contour of this bottle. Right? Don't forget that the neck of the bottle is going to cast a little bit of a shadow over here, a little cast shadow. In the actual neck, it's going to go down. Right? So you start to see where the shadow is coming from and where it's going, right? Where that highlight starts and as it dissipates over the bottle. But using that contour line, using that cross contour, I'm able to see where that light is going to diffuse over the bottle. Now, we could talk, and we already know a lot about doing a cast shadow. So for example, I know the neck of the bottle is going to cast one, but then the bottle itself, obviously, will cast one. Right? That's going to really help kind of solidify down the actual object itself. I can go through and start adding some shadow to the neck of the bottle and on the other pieces as well. And I know where they're going to go. I know where that shadow is going to go because I know how the light's going to bend around this object, thanks to my contour lines. again, we are imagining that this is a solid object. Tomorrow we're going to talk about glass and how to get a glass-like texture. And that's kind of what we're working towards in the long run, is being able to do that.
It's gonna be the hardest part of a project.
What's that?
Is that gonna be the hardest part?
Actually, doing transparencies is not nearly as hard as you think it is. It's a challenge. But as long as if you can do this comfortably, block in, if you can do the contour lines comfortably, honestly, it's a matter of a technique. That's what it comes down to. It's no more different than if you have a different texture. Say like we did this bottle before. There's kind of a plastic texture up top here and a more plasticky kind of lighter texture here. There's a grip right there. If you can understand texture, then you can understand glass, because really the only difference is it's a different texture. It's going to be a challenge, I'm not going to lie, but it's totally, this is the hard part. Being able to block something in and make it feel three-dimensional, that's the hard part. If you got that down, man, you're going to be just fine. I promise. I promise. I wouldn't lie to you. Well, I'd lie to everybody but you. But I wouldn't lie to you.
At least he's honest about lying.
Oh yeah, totally. Such a liar. Alright. And now again, obviously we could get into a debate and talk about how dark things should be, because I'm not going to lie, this is still a little bit faint for my taste. I would take it up a little bit, but I like things to be pretty bold blacks and whites. I like to really kind of pull them apart rather than have a nice soft gradient. But again, that's more of a talk we can save for later. At this point, not only blocking in, but adding in that cross contour, and then being able to use that cross contour to kind of blend and shade. Does that make sense? Why is a benefit to us? Right? So, comprehending that. Now there's some other techniques that we can use along the way. I'm going to leave this off on the side for a second, but there's some other techniques that we can use along the way that will help strengthen our artistic ability. Now they may not be anything that you want to do on your own, right, just for fun. They're not going to be at a museum gallery, but they're different techniques that go in line with contour. So another technique you could do for a contour drawing is find an object, like so, and literally just draw the positive and negative space. Do a contour outline of the project. So I would do, let's see if I can pull this off. I got the camera in my way. I would do something, and it's very hard because we're not blocking in. This is the opposite of what I normally tell you to do. But it helps you think about, oh, it's totally for you, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Helps you think about kind of what is that outline. And if you don't have a solid outline, this is